And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in my email and just send it out to everybody.
There you go.
Why do I not have my email here? There it goes. Go to lot. Is it pulling it up?
It's just spinning.
Gmail. Huh. Why would it? I wonder why it would be doing that. And Tim, you might be on right now, just so you know. I would just hang tight.
Okay.
Do you have your phone with you?
Oh,
no.
Is it on? Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to go to YouTube. No, I'm going to go to here. Okay. I need to just get the link. How do I get the link? Or do you have the link? Oh.
I just went to the page.
Just go on the YouTube page. That's what I do. Okay, so I'll open this and go to the Trigonon. Gosh, this internet selection is a little slow. Okay, so live. Which one is it here? Is it this one here, I guess?
Yep, the one that says live. Yep.
Share, copy. Okay, so I just sent it out an update.
Touch your phone so the phone screen doesn't go off.
Good call there. Oh, shoot. Tim, you need to get your computer turned on. Get your computer turned on.
What do you mean?
You need to get your computer turned on.
What computer?
You didn't bring your computer?
No, I don't have it. My laptop.
You want to log in on here? It just went off again.
What?
Live. Went off. It's only recording for a minute.
Maybe it's trying to get on my laptop, you mean?
No, I was going to resend out the link.
Shoot.
Let me go back to...
Oh, now it says it's live again.
So is it live or are you just watching the same minute
Nope,
again?
it's live.
No, it's live again, isn't it?
So my computer is also giving issues and saying it's not.
It doesn't, it's like the internet's being funky.
But it's not a...
I don't know how to...
In case anyone can hear me at this point, we're experiencing some technical
There are
difficulties.
5 watching it? Okay, I'm going to do this.
I want to wait until it wasn't, but if you can hold tight, we're trying to...
Okay, I think what we're going to do, Tim, we're going to just run it. Hopefully people just find it. Hopefully they just find the channel and figure it out. They'll probably be late getting here, but they can watch it from the beginning. So go ahead and start, and I think we'll just go ahead and go.
Okay.
Kimberly, you just tell us as long as it's still on. So, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us live here. I'm Tim Cassidy. I'm the Director of Business Development for Trigonon. This is the owner, Doug Schaefer. And we have Kimberly moderating behind the computer over there, just watching the chat and so forth. And today we're going to go over a little bit of our product, our device, how to use it, how to prep before using it, and then what you do while you're using it. The reason we're doing a live stream is because back in February, we kept getting the same 2 questions. When's there going to be a device ready that I can order? And how do you use it? So we thought we'd schedule a date where we'd know for sure the production schedule and where everything stood. So as of now, we do have components in. We're assembling everything. We should be able to ship by the end of next week. And we're also going to be able to show you everything live now. It's a little more informal, but we could show you everything at this point. Because behind the scenes, we are making in-depth videos of training videos that will walk you through every single thing. Press this button, go to this screen, here's how you do this. So those will be coming, but we didn't want to wait until they were all finished. It takes a while to shoot, cut, edit, upload. So we thought we could just jump to this right now, but just know that if you purchase the device, by the time you have it and unbox it, we're already going to have all those videos for you. The best source to find those videos is on our homepage, thetrigonon.com. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a training section. But also we have our channel on X. formerly Twitter. So if you're on that, you could just find us under Trigonon device. And that's where we're going to be popping in all the latest stuff. So when we make a brand new training video, it's going to drop right there. If we have a best practice or a quick tip, a lot of people have already given us some great feedback on how to use our device out in the field that they've used. And so we'll be able to drop those there and say, hey, to make it easier to measure stairs, do this. And so that's going to be a really good resource for you going forward, to get the latest updates for everything, and just be a great resource for your business. So with that, I'll hand it over to Doug. He's going to show you a little bit more about our device.
All right. Hey, thanks. Kimberly, were you showing the screen? Did you see my cell phone up? Okay. So if you guys saw, I showed you where the training was. If you don't have an account, the way to get started with this device is to go start an account. So you just go to the trigonon.com. You'll see right on the home page, getting started. When you click on that, it'll allow you to set up an account. There's no obligation to buy the device. It just allows you to get in and see the AB software that we have. Okay. Once you have an account, you can just hit the account login there, and that will take you to your account screen. Okay. And that's a screen that looks like this. And this is where you're going to manage everything from the device itself to all of your projects, to your billing information, everything. Okay. And this will be an ever-growing area as we make new additions and add new features. They'll just show up on here. That's one benefit of the way that we're doing things, is this software, as we make updates, and you just get them perfectly, the same day, same time. So once you'll see my screen, once I'm logged in, then I can access this as well. Okay, so this is the Trigonon device. If you're not familiar with it, it's an electronic tape measure for measuring pool liners or pool covers. Okay, so it's specifically built for that right now. We didn't feel there was a great way to do that, and so we built one. And we feel that we've got a device that we can measure pretty much any pool with a single person. Okay, so a couple of the things that we were trying to fix were, number one, almost everybody who's doing AB measurements, it takes two people. The second thing is it's uncomfortable, it's tiring on your back, bending down, pulling measurements. So we tried to make it more ergonomical. So you can see I'm going to stand exactly like this when I'm shooting my measurements. For most measurements, I'm going to be standing up. We also tried to make it faster and more convenient. So again, we wrote software to handle all this. The software talks to you, it walks you through, it gives you visuals to show you that you are always doing things correctly. Okay, so there's a little review screen. We were out here yesterday setting up. I know we had a little bit of difficulty. Hopefully you found this. If not, you will find it. We'll get it to you. But we came out here yesterday and measured it, because the point of this live is not to walk you through every measurement on a pool. Okay, the point of this live is so that we're going to show you the capability of this device. We're going to show you all the different measurements that can be done, so that when you get it, you're buying the right device. Okay, so this is what you're seeing on your screen right now. This is this pool we drew yesterday. Okay, so let me start from the beginning and go over. I'll go back to the main screen on the account. And so I'm going to start with this screen that's called devices. When you have an account, you can actually own more than one of these. Okay, so if you have a business that you have multiple people measuring, and we hope you do, then you can actually buy multiple boxes and have multiple setups, and all the data goes back to the same spot. Okay, so on the device screen, this is where you see the different devices. Okay, and this device is this neat lemon device. And so if I select it and I go into the measure, then now I'm interacting with the device. You'll see on this page at the top, it shows the devices online. So I already turned it on, it's connected. So this device is going to hook to the internet. Obviously, all of this stuff goes onto our web servers. All your data is stored on web servers so that you can access this from anywhere. You don't have to have a specific piece of software on some tablet or anything like that. You can just log into your account from anywhere, whether it's a phone or a tablet or a desktop, or we're actually in the process of releasing an app. So that's just going to make the process of getting onto your account a little easier. Or if you have another employee that's getting onto an account, we're going to have an app in the app stores. That's coming soon. But ultimately, it's all going to look and function the same. That's kind of one of our goals with this development process, is to make it more seamless for you, the user. Doesn't matter how you're accessing it, it's all going to look the same. Okay. We've gotten these devices out there in people's hands. People are testing it, and giving us feedback. And one thing that we're learning very early on is that hopefully you guys know how to A/B a pool, because this is the same process. We didn't change the process. It's an A/B process. But what we did do is change how you get the measurement. And this device, unfortunately, right out of the box, requires some learning. Okay, it's intuitive to hold it and point and shoot, right? I'm just going to point it and shoot and hit the bucket. That's very intuitive. But what you find out when you get to where I have to hit a target that's 30, 40 feet away, which is my long range targets on a normal pool measurement, that it takes a skill to be able to hit the button on the phone and to be able to hit the bucket. Okay, even though the bucket is relatively large, you have to find that laser. So one of our patent pending technologies to help with that is today's a nice sunny day, and unfortunately you're probably not going to see this on camera, but I'll try to explain it. On a nice sunny day, you will not see, even in person, you will not see that measuring laser. It's very difficult to see it, especially in the sun. If it was nice and shady, or if you were indoors, yeah. But out here, you're never going to see it. So we've added a high power green laser, okay? And this green laser, you can see in the brightest of conditions, okay? Especially on white surfaces, it shows up really, really well, okay? So that's why we have the white buckets. And that's what we're going to provide with our kit, is this white bucket. And you'll see it comes with a nice logo on it. It's got the letters, so you know which is A and which is B. It's got a shiny strip on there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. All those things are important. It's got holes in the side. Everything on the bucket is important. So we'll talk about all those as we go. But the other thing that that the technology that we've patented that we think is really, really great is if you try to shoot a laser measuring device at any distance, you will learn really quickly that it's hard to hold stable. Okay, it's going to want to move around. So if I was going to shoot, a single point object and I had to hit like a post, you would never be able to do it at distance. It gets very difficult. Okay, so our technology allows you to shoot a large round object, a bucket. And what we're going to do is when we shoot the bucket, the laser is going to come across the bucket and take measurements. Okay, so if you can imagine, this is the scenario from far away. Lasers coming in, hitting the bucket. We're going to sweep across the bucket, and we're going to take measurements all across the front of the bucket. And the software is going to use that to pinpoint the middle of the bucket. Okay, and so we're still measuring to a point, but what it allows us to do is we can measure from anywhere, and we can hit that bucket, and it'll always give us the middle. Okay, so two things that are important to know. We're always measuring from the bottom of the stick, right, this point, okay? And we're always targeting the middle of the bucket for our what we call our target center measurement. So if you look on the phone screen right now, I have 3 different measurements. I have a point and shoot, I have a target center, and I have an A/B combined. So the 2 of them that have the round circle that look like a target, those are target centers. That means we're going to sweep across the front, and it's going to give us the middle of the bucket. The point and shoot is just that. I point this at any object, and I take the distance to that object. So a flat object, I could shoot, if I have like a water feature, and I need to end up shooting that. That's not a bucket, so I'm going to do a point and shoot, okay? That's just going to give me the distance from the stick to that object, okay? So let me give you some examples of that here in a second. On this screen, I want to talk about a couple other things. So you'll see that you have these thing called capture controls. You're going to get these options here, and you'll hear this as I do this. There's 4 options, and I'll go over what they are. So enable targeting laser, that's the green laser. When you're out here shooting on a pool, you're going to leave that on. While you're doing your practicing, you're going to, if you're inside, you don't need it. You can see the red laser, so you could turn it off. Believe me, it's a high power laser. We're going to give you glasses. Glasses, Tim?
No.
Okay, so we're going to give you a set of glasses that we would encourage you to wear if you're going to do it inside and you want to leave the green laser on. But this is obviously a high power laser. You want to make sure you read our safety instructions on the laser. You don't want to ever be pointing this at someone, okay? You don't want to ever point it at the sky. There's rules to it. You want to make sure you read that safety stuff because it is a very, very bright laser. But you can turn that on and off with enable targeting laser. The next one down is use screen prompts. So the screen prompts are nice because they slow the whole process down. And I'll show you what that means. But essentially when I hit take measurement, it's going to show up on my screen and give me an OK button. If I don't have that turned on, then it's going to immediately go into the measuring process, which is good if you're really fast, if you want to be fast with the product, but it's not good when you're learning or early on. So early on, you're going to leave all these turned on. Use voice prompts. Again, you'll hear my phone speak to me. So it'll say, if I'm taking a measurement on A and B, it will say, point the laser at A. Once it takes that measurement, point the laser at B. And so it gives you information. Once you start measuring and you're on your second or third pool, you're going to learn that you're just going to turn that off. But it's more of a training tool, okay? And then the last thing would be speak results. Every time I take a measurement, do I want it to read back? If I turn that off, it's just going to show me on the screen, okay? And so again, to speed the process up, you'll turn it off. Okay, so let's talk about, you get your device, you just got it in the mail, you're going to be excited, you're going to want to go out and measure a pool right away. Everyone does. I get it. You do not want to do that. You're going to be frustrated and you're going to fail and you're wasting your time driving out to the pool, okay? We have some things, if you go to the website, okay, if you go to the training session, at the very bottom, you go in here, and some of these videos aren't done yet, but they're going to be released over the next week or two. Before you get your device, this will all be done. And you need to go through this. And part of it in lesson 2 is practice, okay? Practice, practice, practice. We can't say it enough. The last thing you want to do is come out here and go to take a measurement and you can't find it, or you're getting errors. When you get errors, if I'm trying to shoot that bucket and I'm not on the bucket and the device is trying to take measurements, I might be taking measurements of the grass behind it, which it won't like. I might be taking measurements of the water. It's not going to like that. And all of those things are going to shoot errors. And if you're struggling to just find out when I'm on the bucket, well, then that's going to be frustrating. Okay. So you should practice this at your house. And so here's the practice is simple. This is probably an hour learning curve, and then you'll be ready to go. And you can do all this at your home or your office or however you want to do it. But essentially you're going to come to this device screen and you're going to do all 3 of these measurements. Okay. And so I'm just going to do a quick target center measurement. Make sure the device is still online if I refresh the screen. Okay. So target center again is, it's going to come on. I'm going to sweep across the front. You're going to hear my phone speak. You're going to hear the box speak. I'll slowly turn those off as we do it. But okay. So target center. Here we go.
Laser at target and hover to capture.
Okay. I have the prompt on, so it's forcing me to hit the button on my phone, and then it's going to take it.
Distance equals 3 feet, 0 and 7/8 inches.
Okay, so I'm sure that was hard to hear with my phone speaking over, but I want to have you guys hear the box. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn off the voice prompts and I'm going to turn off the results. Okay, so now I'm just going to have screen prompts and I'm just going to have the beep of the box, and I'm going to kind of get a little lower here. Now again, when you're doing this, I want to stay in the middle of the bucket, but I ultimately want to sweep across the bucket a little bit. When you're close, this is simple and easy, right? And you actually physically have to kind of swivel it. When I'm at distance, you don't really need to think about that. You should really think about just staying in the middle of the bucket, and your natural shakiness that you can't get out is going to do this for you, okay? So the further you get away, the less you need to think about sweeping. You know, I say this hover or sweep across. It's really for close stuff. Every time you hear this thing beep, it's taking a measurement, by the way. So that's what you're listening for. So I'm going to kind of get here. Okay. When you go to the edge, and this is something you'll see on your practice, you'll hear the box give almost a negative type of beep. And that means it doesn't like where you're going, right? As it starts to go off the edge, it's going to know it, and it's going to do that, okay? So this is why you practice. You can hear those different beeps, you can play around with it, and it'll make sense to you, okay? And again, do target centers, do A-B combines, and A-B combined is just that. I'm going to shoot the A, and then I'm going to shoot the B. And you can turn all these features on and off and speed that process and feel that out before you ever go out, okay? What else about, oops, and now hopefully we're not having, I'm just losing my internet. Did we just lose our internet? Oh, nope, I'm back on. I heard the box beeping. My phone dropped and then I think I'm back on. Okay. So, by the way, if we're hoping we don't have these more technical difficulties, but we're connecting through Wi-Fi. We're at a homeowner's house. It's been a little bit come and go every once in a while, but we got a lot of devices hooked up. So hopefully we don't have any more issues. But the box will actually beep at you. I don't know if you heard it beeping, but it'll beep at you if it loses connection for a second as it tries to get it back. So, okay, practice. We talked about practice. Everything in this devices area, that's pretty much it. There's the configure and the measure. You're going to spend time on there. This is just like a tape measure. Go out there and play with it. Shoot a bunch of different options. I encourage you to, on the point and shoots, to try different things. So the reason you're going to do point and shoot measurements would be if you have a water feature like we set that box over there. Lost connection to my phone? Okay, we'll just go back. It's fine. I'm not going to be on here too, yeah, I'll give it to you. You can play with it and get it back. Water features. When you do a point and shoot, most of the point and shoot stuff is going to be to us an object like a water feature. We do these things called back measurements, which we'll talk about here in a second. But ultimately, that's why you would do it, is I would point and shoot the edges of that box. Okay. So we talked about practice. Now let's talk about, we're going to do a new project and we're ready to go. So in the phone app, and hopefully we'll get it here in a second. And if not, this part is important, Kimberly. I can come help you with it in a second. But let's talk about the A-B setup. When you do these pool measurements, you're gonna have to set up 2 A-B points. Okay, we've got our buckets marked A and B. Okay.
Oh, there's the chalk. Yeah.
And we're gonna do the same thing that we've done in the past, but the only thing we're gonna change is how you actually do your marks. Okay. So you're going to get provided with our little shade ring, okay? You can see it's on that bucket over there. Probably hard to see, but this is our shade ring. This goes under the bucket. And why do we need shade? Okay. These measuring lasers do not like the sun. Okay, so you'll find this out when you do your practice as you try to shoot other objects. And we just dumped the bucket. It's starting to get windy out here, guys. Oh, geez. Oh, man.
Oh, it's lost our shade tent there.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't get too windy. Don't worry about that. Just get the bucket back over.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand here and hold this. Hey, the beauty of lives. You don't know when the wind's going to blow through. So the reason we're going to use this is you got to shade your target buckets. Okay. And again, you saw the umbrella. That's one option. Not a great option on a windy day. This is probably the better option in general because it's less likely to dump. So we're going to use this not only as a shade device, but we're also going to use it as our way of marking our ABs. Okay, so the way that we do this is almost like a template. Okay, we're going to set this down. We're going to draw a circle. Then we're going to put an X through that circle. Okay, we're going to do that at the A location and the B location. Now, typically, you would take your tape measure, right? Like I have a tape measure sitting there, and I would measure out, say, 15 feet. We don't care as much about the distance as we care about just making sure the location is correct and the length is correct. Okay, so we always want to be about 2/3 the distance of a pool. So you can see, Tim, can you put that bucket back on that circle so you can see exactly how it's supposed to, like the distance that it was? You'll see the circle in the ground.
Okay.
That's where we marked it yesterday. My phone back up.
See.
Okay. So you'll see that's about the distance. Again, 2/3 of the pool. And we just put this down on the ground, okay? And you circle this. Okay, I create a circle. And then I put an X through it. Okay, like so. And so the circle gives me a place to take my bucket, and I can place it in the exact same spot every time. If I, for some reason, have to move it, God forbid, the wind blows it over and you got to put it back, I can put it back. Okay.
Yeah, like this happened, I have it exactly where it was now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's easy to put it back. If something like that happens, you can always put it back if you do this process. I would always mark this just so I remember mentally. So now with our software, we're trying to create a process, okay? There's going to be things that we do that I'm sure people are going to say, I don't do it that way. We're trying to encourage people to do it the way that we're creating, because the more we standardize this, the more people will have less, or I should say the less errors that happen. So a lot of things that we've been talking to manufacturers and people that are doing this, there's a lot of errors, and it's because there's not a standardization, and that's what screws things up. So that's why we're trying to create some of these items a certain way, okay? So I mark my A, sorry, I was getting to a point with that. A and B. If you are standing on the AB line, looking at the pool, okay, and I'm going to show this on the software, then A is on my left and B is on my right. Okay, how do I remember that? It's pretty easy to remember. If you go into any project and you review it, okay, if you notice at the bottom of that little area, there's an AB line, okay, and you'll notice that if I visually put myself on that line and be like me standing like this, A is on the left and B is on the right. Okay, if you mess that up, the drawing is going to be backwards, okay, and then we're going to have to deal with that. You have to flip all the data. It's not a difficult thing, but we're trying to get everyone to visualize, stand on my AB, look at the pool, A is on my left, B is on my right. You can think of it that way, or you can think of it looking from the pool at the buckets, then A would be on my right and B would be on my left. Either way works, but this drawing, the review screen will always kind of orientate you correctly, okay? So again, I drew my B, I put it there. It's not important where I go to draw my A distance-wise. I can pretty much just go 2/3 over and draw it, okay? Now, when I do a project, the very first thing it's going to ask me for is to configure this AB line, okay? So the first thing it's going to say is does any part of the AB line cross the pool? Again, I guess this would be a good time to point this out. We are not trying to teach you guys how to measure a pool using the AB process. Hopefully you already know how to do that. Now we are, in the end, we will help with that, and that's what this software is doing. But that's not the point of kind of what we're doing today. Hopefully you already know how to do that. So, but the AB line can't cross. I can't have an AB line like this. So I'll spend 2 seconds talking about it. Your AB line has to be outside the pool, okay, when you draw this stuff. And it should be a couple feet back from the pool. Typically 3 feet is what they said in the past. That still works great with even our process. Okay. So you mark it out. Now the first thing it's going to ask you to do is to measure that distance. Okay, so why are we doing that? We're going to shoot the distance with the laser. Why would we measure it? Well, the reason we're measuring it is this is our kind of our calibration test. Okay, so we take our tape measure, we measure from the center of that X to the center of this X, and we'd put that measurement in here. Then you're going to take the device. You see the device, Tim?
Yep.
And you're going to hit the capture the distance. Okay, so we would take this, we would leave that right there. We would set this on our A point, and we would shoot that bucket. Okay, and that's going to record the device, or record the measurement. We're trying to ensure that those two measurements are equal or very close. Okay, again, it's a checks and balance system. We want to make sure the very first measurement you take on site is accurate and everything's working properly for you. Okay, we have yet to see ever that it's not, but we don't know what's going to happen if you get out there and had an issue. We want to make sure that the first measurement is always accurate. So that's why we're having you use the tape measure to do this. Okay, so now you've got it set up. Now you can go on to your items page. Okay, so again, this is, so we've got it configured right now. We're doing our pool. This screen, and this works from the top to the bottom. And this is already all done, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to open some of these things back up. If it wasn't already all done, then some things might not even be available yet. Okay, as you go through this process, you kind of working it from the top down. So I'm just going to go back to the pool outline. Okay, I'm going to go to the capture points. So here's the details, what it is. I can obviously configure anytime I want as far as the laser settings. So those you can change anytime. And then I'm on the capture points. Okay, and here's all the points that I captured for this pool. Okay, if I select one, you'll see that it shows up on the screen. So if I have a point that's not right, I can always see which one it is and make a fix, and things like that. So the capture the pool process. Before you would do this, you would obviously chalk your pool. So let's spend a minute talking about chalking the pool. We are not asking anyone to change that process of how you chalk a pool, okay? We do feel that in the future, you probably could get away with chalking less with this device, but to start out, we think it's a good idea that you chalk it exactly like you would chalk it if you were doing it with tape measures, okay? And you're not going to be able to see this, but this is our point 1. So if I go to point 1, okay, right there. By the way, those were our AB buckets, not this side. So if you look at the drawing on the screen, you'll see the ones highlighted. It's this point right here, okay? And then we went around the pool counterclockwise, okay? And so that's another thing that we're trying to instill in people. When you chalk a pool, it doesn't really matter where you start. I would encourage you to start closer to your ABs because it's easier to shoot those, but you can start anywhere. If you had a big feature, you would start on one edge of the feature and go to the other. But again, you guys know how to chalk a pool, okay? I will say if you're doing a liner, you need to remember that you are measuring from this point, okay? So when you chalk it, depending on your coping, you want to make sure that you're measuring the coping, so the wall. So I'm not going to put this right on the edge of the pool. I'm going to end up putting it where the wall is at. So when we make chalk marks for that, we make a little cross. We come down the pool so we know where in location, and then we make a little cross back from the edge where the wall is at. Okay, that's our reminder. It's that once we go around, that we're placing the device in the right spot every time. Okay. The other thing that's important when you chalk is number them. Every 5th one, put a number, circle it, make it big, make it visible. Why is that important? Well, later on, we're going to reference those numbers, right? So when you do your shallow end or your deep end, or when you do cross measurements, or if you're doing a cover when it comes to straps, all of that has references. And that's why those numbers are important, because you got to figure it out. So I'm either going to be clicking on a point like that and going, okay, what number is that? 5. And I'm going to have to figure that out. If that label is 5 and it's right there, I walk over, I go, yep, that's 5. I already know what it is. So that's why labeling is good, okay? Because I can click on it down here, I can see it, it's all visually good, okay? Other things with chalking. There's going to be some new techniques that you've never seen, and we'll talk about them later. When it comes to steps, when it comes to in-water features, when it comes to the deep end hopper, how we measure that. Those are going to possibly require some special measurements and special chalking, and we'll talk about it when we get to that point. And you'll know how to, and really what I mean by special is you might just have to end up adding 2 measurements instead of just 1, where you traditionally might just use 1, and you want 2. And I'll explain that more when we get to that tool over there, which is like our deep end measuring tool. Okay. So let me go. Okay, so we're on capture points. So if I'm going to reopen this just to kind of show you what this would look like. This is what it looks like when I'm in the process of measuring. So you'll notice that the pool is now open. I'm on number 27. I would hit start A-B capture. I would shoot my A, and then I would shoot my B. Okay, and they would just add another point. If for some reason, let's say point 2 was not correct, I could scroll in here at any time, and I can do a couple things. If I click on point 2, I can recapture it. So I could go back here, reshoot it if I didn't like the measurement. I could also insert points before or after. So if for some reason I forgot to chalk something and I needed to take a measurement right here, I could just insert a point there. Know that inserting a point is going to change your numbers, so be careful with that. Typically, you want to have it chalked right first. Otherwise, that will get confusing. But it is possible, so you don't have to totally abandon the drawing. But just know that that can get a little confusing if you've never done pools before. But most likely, I think you're going to do just a recapture on this. Okay. Whenever I'm done with any area on this list, I'm going to finalize it. And that's for the purpose of, again, keeping things square, making sure that we have control over not messing things up. We don't want people to do things out of order because it can mess things up. So you'll finalize it, and that basically is saying that you're done drawing the outline, and if you go to the review, it locks it all in, and we can move on to the next item. Okay, So the next thing, oops, sorry, clicked the wrong thing. Items. Okay, so the next thing would be, I actually think you could do either features or breaklines. We'll go to features. Features are going to be anything that you really want them to be. You can draw items anywhere, okay? Whether it's that box or like a water feature, whether it's steps, whether it's a sun ledge, there's lots of different ways to draw features, okay? So more so than talking about the actual feature, I want to go over and talk about how to measure in-pool steps, how to measure a water feature, how to do those things. But let's say I just want to draw a point here. I can just draw a new feature and start adding these points with my same A/B process. Okay, so what might that be? We shot a diving board the other day, and we could get access to the diving board and just kind of needed to mark it. So we just kind of set it on next to the diving board, shot one side, shot the other, and that was good enough. Just 2 points. They just need to mark it. Okay. Do we want to go to steps yet or do it? Let's go to steps. Let's talk about steps. Okay. So steps, this pool has in-pool steps, and we can draw in-pool steps with a feature. So I'll go to the top step and show you what this process looks like. Okay, so there's the steps. You can see them. They come in a different color. Here's the top step. It's 3. Okay, here's how we got that. Jim, you mind holding that for a second? Walk up close. This device will move up and down this pole. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I need to get the device where, again, I'm targeting this area. Okay, so I'm going to slide it up, but I need it to be, you can see if this is on the ground, I'm about this high above. So I need to be about that high above the deck. So I'm going to set this on my step. I'm going to raise this up about that high, and I'm going to lock this in. Okay. Now, what is that doing for me? One, I know I'm at the right height, then I know I'm going to be level. So in traditional measuring of steps, you have to worry about level, right? So I would set a level on there, I'd pull my tape measure to it. Well, if you're not level, then you're changing that distance from your AB. As long as I'm at the right height, then I will be level, because I can't hit that bucket over there unless I'm level. If I lean forward, I ain't on the bucket. If I lean back, I'm not on the bucket. So by doing this at the right height, well, now I'm level. Okay, so I solved that problem. Now, we have a tool, that's what I was looking for, I think it's here. Okay, we have this little guy here. You could definitely set this on the edge of the step, okay? You could actually even take this off. If you weren't confident with the rubber foot and you wanted to get a more pinpoint, you could do that. We've also created this device, which is basically just a little ledge that allows me to, I can put it on here, and then I can put this down in the water and I can feel that front edge of that step. Okay, and it's going to measure from right there. So how you measure the step is totally up to you. We've got this is part of the toolkit. And so you just put this down in here. I feel the front edge of the step, and then I shoot my A and I shoot my B.
It gives you the exact point.
It's going to give you the exact point. So you can see, I'm going to pull back up here. You can see we just shot that. Let me see if I can zoom in here. We shot it 3 times across each step. 1 in the edge, 1 in the middle, 1 in the corner. Okay. Same process, just reach it down. Now this will go up a lot higher. Okay. I can move this middle section, right? And I can move it higher and higher. And there's another, you can see there's a little bracket here. And so the way that bracket works, let me take this back off. I don't need this on here anymore. Okay, put the foot back on. The little bracket is because the pole changes sizes. Okay, so if I want to loosen that, put this back down to a normal operating height, tighten that, I can separate without I'm being awkward now. Okay. When they're new, it's going to be tight, but you just don't want it to fall off there. Okay. So now I can put that like this. and I can go to like what I would call level 2, right? And so I can slide the box over, and now I'm on the higher section. And so that allows me to reach that bottom step, okay? And so that's kind of the point of having the multiple things, because I can go down, I think this is, I don't know, 36 or 40 inches or something like that, but it's enough to get that bottom step, okay? And so that's how you do in-pool steps, or that's how you do, if you had a sun ledge or a bench or anything like that, you can measure that stuff like that. It doesn't matter on the features, you can do it now or whatever. So other features. So that would be anything in pool. We do have one other way to measure in pool stuff, and I'll talk about it here in a second. But is there anything with moving? That's the only reason you move the box up and down, by the way. Other than that, it's always going to stay at that height where you're right at the bottom edge, right in the kind of middle bottom of the bucket. One thing now I'm thinking about, I didn't talk about the reflective tape. When you're targeting this thing and you have it set up, you're going to be targeting kind of right below that little reflective tape. When you get out to about 35 feet, which is about the distance, we did not use it on this pool. This pool's a little too small, but when you get out to like 35 feet, you will hear that the device starts to like the tape better than the white bucket, okay? And you'll notice that on the beeps. So the beeps will go faster and louder when you're hitting the tape. And so that's why we have the reflective tape on there, because it helps as you get up to higher distances, okay? I didn't mention that earlier, what the tape was for. Okay, so that's features. That's how you do in-pool steps. Let's talk about a back measurement. Again, that's just a box we set there. This pool doesn't actually have a water feature, but I want to talk about what that would be like. So if I go in here and do a new feature, okay, and I'll just call this feature box. Okay, I could change the color to whatever I want. Okay. So when you set up a new feature, there's a couple different options. I can do points only. A point would be I'm just hitting a post or just have a single dot on the page. An open feature would mean I'm just drawing a line, open-ended line. And then a closed feature would be a round object. It has a start and a finish, and you're drawing something round. So like that would probably be an open feature, because I'm not going to care about the back of it. I'm just going to hit the sides and the front, okay? So what that looks like when I go to capture this, and again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to get into whole capturing, but I am not going to do an A-B capture, okay? An A-B capture would be me standing at that and shooting the buckets. But I can't really do that on an object like that. So what I want to do is what's called a reverse measurement, okay? And so I hit my options, and I have a lot of different options. By the way, I can always enter any of these things with a tape measure, okay? So if you get to some measurement that you're used to doing some way and you can't figure out how to do it with one of these tools, you can always pull a tape the old way. And I would encourage you, I have a tape.
You can manually enter.
And manually enter, correct. Yeah. I would encourage you to always carry still a 100-foot tape measure, a regular tape measure, not knowing, I don't know, maybe halfway through this, you drop this thing in the pool. I would hope that doesn't happen, but or you just can't get a measurement. If we would never want you not to be able to finish a project while you're there. So you can actually pull manual tapes on any of this stuff. Or if there's just some weird situation we're not thinking of, and you would have to do it with a tape measure, then you could. So you can always enter it manually. But the reverse measurement is what we're going to do. And I'll talk about both the reverse and the CD, which are on this page. But I'll talk about the reverse first. The reverse measurement, I'm going to go to my ABs, and I'm not going to walk over there because you can't really see me from that side. But let's say this was my ABs. Okay. I'm going to go to my A. So, in the number of captures. On this thing, let's say I have 4 points across the front of that I want to capture. I need to mark those 4 points, so either chalk them or make a note of, but I can take as many of these as I want. I would start out, if you've never done these before, I would start out with 1 and then go from there. But essentially you enter the number in, and what I'm going to do is, it's going to say, shoot, if I entered 4 in, I'll take 4 measurements from A. So left edge of the box, couple middle measurements, and then the right edge, okay? And then the software is going to say, go to B, and I'll come over here, and I'll reshoot those exact same 4 measurements. That's a reverse measurement. Reverse measurements are shooting from your A/B targets. Obviously, we have to move the buckets at that point, but that's typically okay because by the time we get to these, we're kind of done measuring with the ABs. So if you're going to do a reverse measurement, I would encourage you to do it towards the end. Even if it's a feature, you can always come back in and add features at the end. Okay? So that's reverse measurement. Let's talk about a CD measurement. So you also saw in here, one of our options is CD point. When I do a CD capture, it's going to pull up a screen that looks like this. If you're not familiar with CDs or why you use them, let's say I want to measure the back of that box or something behind that box that I can't see from, if this is my ABs and I'm looking and I can't see behind that from here, then there's no way for me to shoot the ABs. Then we have to do what's called a CD measurement. And a CD measurement essentially allows you to measure around corners, or you can just measure from any other point is the way to think about it. So let's say I want to measure it from point 1 and point whatever, 4. I can do that measurement, that back measurement from other places. Okay, so I just select it, right? It's a pool outline, and I want to do point 1 and point 4. Okay, that's going to just basically allow me to now stand here and shoot my thing. Why would that be useful? Well, a couple different, mostly for around corners, or if I wanted to get closer to something, or if I'm at a really, if I was at a commercial pool, and let's say I'm massive, 150 feet across, I can actually move my targets and never have to shoot a really, really, really long measurement, right? So I can shoot 2 more points, call them CDs, set my buckets there, and shoot those from now on, right? And so I can manipulate the drawing essentially. It's all going to reference back to the AB, so the computer is going to do all the hard work, but it allows you to do some really wacky, crazy things. These are pretty advanced ideas. If you've never done this stuff before, we're going to release videos on all of that. So don't get overwhelmed with it. It's not something that's, on a pool like this, you'd never use it. On the average pool, you never use it. But I wanted to make sure you guys understand it is possible. There's a couple of these things now that we're getting towards the end. These are more advanced features, but they're all possible. Again, like I told you at the beginning, we're trying to get every measurement with a single person, right? In the past, if you had a wall, if let's for say the entire backside of that pool was a huge rock wall that I couldn't get to, you would have to have a second person to be leaning over with a tape or holding tapes with back poles or, doing something really crazy to try to get that measurement. And what we're saying is, nope, now you can just shoot it backwards and with one person. Okay. And so that's what the back measurements, that's what the CDs are. Back measurements are pretty easy, pretty common. You'll probably do those. CDs, pretty uncommon, but useful. And there is a CD measurement that I'm going to talk about. It uses that same technology, but it's easy and it's more common. And I'll show you that here when we get to the deep end stuff. So I think that's enough on features. So let's go down the list. I'm going to talk about deep end and shallow end. These are easy. Whenever you're doing a liner, you're going to have your deep end break and your shallow end break. Make sure it's important when you chalk a pool that you chalk the point where the shallow end break is at, because deep end break and shallow end break aren't measurements. They're just references to points you've already shot. So that's an important part of when you chalk your pool. You're just referencing, right? On here, by the way, the drawing is always right. So if you do like that and it looks, you got it obviously wrong. So you can always be verifying, oh, that's correct. I was wrong on my point. But that's what the deep end and the shallow end. There's no real measurement. Now, I will show you this, and this happens on the cross measurements or these. If for some reason, and we've had people ask, this is why we put this in here, you select 2 points on here, it's going to tell you the distance between them. So we've had people say that they like to confirm distances across the pool with a tape measure, or they would like to be able to do that. When you select 2 points on here, it's going to tell you what it thinks it should be. Okay. And so you could take a tape measure if you wanted to and pull it across that pool and verify it. If that was something that was important to you as you go through this process, we've just had some people say that they like doing that. That's essentially what a cross measurement is, right? So if I go into the cross measurements and I go into crosses, that's what cross measurements are. We're going to still do cross measurements right now. Eventually, we don't know if we're going to anymore because we're not finding errors in the actual measurement. If the device takes the measurement, it's been accurate, okay? And it's accurate down to an eighth. It will either take it or it won't, okay? So let's talk a little bit about why it wouldn't take it. So this pool is a great example. When we came here yesterday and we go to shoot our cross measurements, essentially we stand on this cross and we're going to shoot to that over there, okay? And you'll notice that this is a dark liner. The laser likes white items, not these darker surfaces, okay? So if I would, if I shut these two poles, it doesn't like that one as much. It'll actually, sometimes it will take it, but again, it's all based on the sun. There's lots of different factors that go into that. But if you take a measurement and it errs on you, most likely it just didn't like the surface, okay? That's why we have the buckets, because it likes those. Again, that's why we have the shiny material, because it likes it better sometimes. On this one, we had to do two things. We shot the concrete, like the coping, and it liked it fine. And so we were able to shoot our cross measurement, and it was fine. It was off by an inch, I think, which we thought was actually the distance of the coping, and that we were fine with it. It has a little bit of a tolerance in there anyways. The other thing that you can do that we were kind of experimenting with is you can set a bucket and shoot that, right? So we set a bucket over there on the edge where we thought the wall was at, and we shot that, and that worked as well. So you can be creative when it comes to cross measurements, but the idea is that you don't have to pull tape across the pool. You can just shoot the laser at the wall. That's going to be a point and shoot measurement when you do cross measurements. It's just going to be a point and hold. When you do point and shoots, and this will be in the training, but I'll just mention it since I'm thinking about it. If you want to hold this thing really, really still, I would encourage you to stand something along these lines, okay? If you get it up, again, this is at long distances. At short distance, you don't need this, but here I can control the phone, I can look at everything, and I can hold this, okay? The other thing that we've noticed, so this is kind of naturally how the handle works on the trekking stick, but you'll see the box is pointing the wrong direction. What's nice is if you take the box and you point this in the same direction as the handle, because now it's a natural feel. I can kind of see, without even looking at the box, I can feel this through the handle and with my thumb and everything, that I'm pointing this direction, or I'm pointing this direction, right? I don't even have to look down. I can just feel that. And so that helps a lot too, especially on longer ones. Get the handle set up right, where it's pointing with the box. Because if you spend a lot of time looking at the box and then looking up at looking like this, you're never going to get it. It's got to be a lot of looking out and being able to control the laser without looking down, not looking at my phone. Once you get going, you want to just kind of focus out there, okay? Okay, so the last measurement I want to talk about is what we call D measurements or slope measurements. I think in the newest version coming out, this says D points. I think we actually are calling them slopes. This is something that, again, that we don't know the official word that people use. We've heard a lot of different words, but this is the measurement that you're going to use to create like the hopper in the deep end, or if you have a really crazy kidney bean shape and there's some curves going down and you need to get those measurements. These are underwater measurements where the slope of the wall comes down and meets the bottom of the floor. Okay, so how do you get those? So Tim, hold that real quick. Sure. Okay, so we have this device here, and I'm going to carry this over here and try to get it closer to the camera so that you can see it. Essentially, what you're looking at is the end of the pole. There's a little white device in there with a laser down pointer. Okay, and this is something you're going to get when you with your accessories kit. But here's how this works. So you can imagine the slope is going this way, and I've got to have this down right over the slope. Okay, so if you turn the laser on, that allows me to see that laser pointing down, so I know right where that's at. I'm going to always take these D measurements or these slope measurements in reference to something else. So the one you see on here is actually referenced over where that box is at. You'll see the little orange, here it is here. We took one the other day. So there it is. And so traditionally, here's how you would have done it. just so we're all on the same page and we know what we're talking about. People would have either stuck a vacuum pole down and measured out like this and got a width of how it is, or I see some people that have like long, really rigid, almost like tape measure poles, and they'll stand on it and that'll give them the depth, and then they stick another pole this way. We're going to do it like this. You get this lined up. Okay, here's one of my marks right here. Which mark is this? This is 24 and 25, I think. Okay. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do.
Did you know this?
Not yet. Okay. I'm going to talk about how to place that point on the drawing first. Here, hold that.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to shoot this round end here. I'm going to shoot that with the laser, and I'm going to shoot it from 2 points. I'm going to shoot it from this point, and then I'm going to shoot it from this point. Essentially, what I'm doing is a CD measurement on that thing, and that's going to locate it. Okay, and so what I need to do,
because it already knows those points you plotted earlier on the pool outline.
Yep, I need to move the box up to there. Okay, and I think I just bumped the power because I just heard it beep at me. We'll see if it's still on. And then set this here, and it's going to be a target point in the shoot. Let me see if I'm still turned on, because I just heard it beep. I don't know. I'm going to try it anyways. There it's beeping at me. Okay. It's not a big deal. What is it? Number 24. Oh, here, let's go to depth real quick, because this is asking me. It's kind of jumping out of order. I can always do this measurement. Let me see that tape measure. I can always do this D measurement as you've always done in the past with the software, right? So I give a reference point, I give the depth, and I give the width. So the width would be this distance. So whatever, 20, 22. So I would write that in. And then I'm sorry, that's not the depth, that's the width. So the width is 22. And the depth would be, by the way, so the point of this thing being like this is I can feed this. This would be one method. Okay. That water's right at 48. If I can pull that out of there without set my phone down. Okay. So 48, and then I have to add from the wall, which is another 3. Okay, so then I would just put in here 51. Okay, so that would be the old traditional way of doing it. That does not draw it on the screen. Now all that does is just puts it in there like everyone always did in the past. If you want to draw it on the screen, then you would go back in and you do this CD advanced capture. And that's where essentially get that? Okay. That's where I'm shooting from here and then from here, and that's going to actually place a dot on the drawing at that point. I can do as many of these as I wanted. So if I need to draw a complex hopper, that's what I'm going to get into. But this is the method that we're going to do. And again, I can shoot that little bitty target at the end of that, and that's good enough, and then it'll pinpoint that location in space.
You could do the same thing with the fun bralette and get the exact location in the
Yeah, I could
pool.
actually, yeah, if there was a commercial pool with a pole or some object in the middle, I could do that. Or, I mean, I don't like my phone going in my pocket because it might turn off. Here, hold this again, Tim.
Sure.
Let's say I can't get a step, or a big sun ledge. Let's say there's a sun ledge here. I can just position this, put this out as far as I want to go out, and I can have that right on the edge of that sun ledge. And I wouldn't have to technically walk out there, or if it was something deep, right? All I'm trying to do with this D-slopes is essentially I can pinpoint things inside of the pool. Okay. We will talk about, this is going to be another one of those ones you're going to want to watch a specific video on the do's and don'ts of this, because there's some things. I talked earlier about chalking the pool clockwise or counterclockwise versus clockwise. This is where that matters. When I shoot these two measurements, I got to shoot the one on the left and then the one on the right. Well, it's easier if they're done in that way because it just makes more sense to your brain that the numbers go up. If you do it backwards, it's just going to draw the point on the outside of the pool, and you have to reverse them. It's not the end of the world, but that's the reason why we're doing those things. So when you do this D measurement, if you want that dot to show up in the middle of the pool, you got to do them in that order, left to right. Otherwise, it'll shoot it backwards. Okay. I think there's. Okay, so that's D measurement. So if there's anything else in here, this when you do your captures here, there's also these depths in here. So your traditional wall height depth. Okay, that wall height is in here, and same with your deep end depth. You can just put it in there if you want to store it there. Let me talk about that thing. This is one other thing that we're exploring. I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of these. This is not something we made. It's something we've found, and we think it's kind of cool. But this is basically a plumb bob with a tape measure on it. And we feel we're going to try this out. And again, the idea of this would be that you would feed this down through the end of that, okay, into the pool. Okay, then I can read that off the tape measure, okay, 48. And I can get that depth that way, get the depth of that water. And I'm still going to traditionally take this measurement and add them together. The thing about this that's nice, this is heavy. This is relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $35 or something, pretty cheap. And it's a nice tool. So we're thinking about building this setup. The laser's nice, but it doesn't give you the depth. This would give you both depth and location because it would go straight down. So if it was a really, really dirty, slimy pool or green and nasty, and the laser's not going to shoot through it, so you can locate where you're at, you might have to end up using something like this to feel it. Some people obviously use vacuum poles, and you probe around to try to find that edge. All of those techniques are going to still be in play. None of this is like that you have to do it. And that's kind of the point of the software, is that we're not forcing you to do it one way. We're just trying to give you different ideas of how you can do it and try to make it faster and better. On a nice clean pool where you can see everything, we think the down laser, the tape measure down, that option is going to be quick, easy, and great. Okay. Okay, so let me go. So that's our project information. You have anything else to add on projects, Tim?
I would just say for one of the reasons we talking so much about more liner issue things is because you have a little more play with covers. So people are like, yeah, I can do covers, but can I do liners? So we're talking about liners because it's so exact in its measurement. But for covers too, we just kind of went over that quickly. But if you do the pool outline, finalize it, then you can go back for the anchor points, and it'll ask anchor 1, and then you just go to that point, hit AB, go to the next one, and go all the way through. It's real simple, but it plots all those also.
I just showed that on screen.
Okay.
I did a new project, called it covers, and now you'll see you get anchors as an option. You wouldn't get anchors on a cover, or on a liner, I mean. So the software's smart enough to know that. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with certain other, the D measurements disappear because you don't need D measurements on a cover. So yeah, good point though.
Color codes, all that, so it shows you the different.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't talk about covers at all, but yeah, it does covers very, very well. Okay, so let's talk about how you get one of these. I'm sure now that you've seen this, hopefully you're as excited as we are about getting one of these into your hands and trying it out and doing it. Once you've created an account, again, no obligation to create the account. You can get in here. You can actually do measurements by hand if you wanted to just start using the app as your AB app. You can do that right now. There's no cost, no obligation to do that. To get a device, once you're in your account, there's a couple things you need to do. So number one, you're going to come in and you're going to want to manage your payment method. Okay. So if you don't have credit cards, this screen will say add a payment. That would be step one, add a payment. Okay. That's going to hold your card on file. So when you get to actually the ordering the device, then you can do that. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is this device orders page. Okay. And you'll see that I already, on my account that I'm showing you here, I've already ordered one. It's showing you that I've paid. So if I didn't do this It's just going to ask you to select how many boxes that you want and accessory kits. Okay. We are basically selling it as a box. This first go around, we're basically forcing everyone to buy the box and the accessory kit. Okay. The reason we're doing that is we want to make sure everybody has the same equipment on site. Okay. If you run into a problem, we are going to provide support for the device. Okay. We're providing email support. It's part of the account. Once you sign up and buy a box, you're going to get free email support. But we want to make sure to eliminate issues that someone's not trying to use an orange Home Depot bucket to do this process. Will it work off an orange Home Depot bucket? Actually, kind of. You know, in a cloudy day, it probably worked fine. On a sunny day like this, I don't know. And I'm not interested in finding out. I'd rather everybody use the same setup that we have because we know this works. Okay. So you're going to have to buy the accessory kits, which is going to give you all the little pieces to do the steps. It's going to give you all of your brackets. It's going to give you everything that you see that we've shown here today. You're going to get all that, except for this. This is new. This is a separate thing. But we'll get certain things like that and the umbrellas. And again, you can see maybe the umbrellas aren't the right way to go, but we're going to give links to where you can get those. I mean, the umbrellas are $20 on Amazon. This thing is $35 on Amazon. As we show different accessories that we think might be good things you can add to your toolkit, we'll put those links on our website. And we'll reference them, like Tim was saying, on X. If we discover some new thing we think is neat, we might just put a little video together and a link and where you can go get it, and you can add it to your toolkit. And that's how I would think of this as well. It's another item in your toolkit. You're building a better toolkit for measuring liners and covers. Okay. But to order it, again, go to device order, go through that process. If you want more than one, you'll be able to select that out. And then we're going to be shipping these out pretty much in the next 2 weeks. Okay. It's going to be first come, first serve. So if you were one of those people, again, we've been talking about this since January, and there was a bunch of people that got in and we told them to put pre-orders in. I'm going to ask you to go back in, and we have that list, but in order for us to process this, we want you to go back in and reorder the device now that the credit card stuff is set up. So if you've already done that and you pre-order it and you think you're okay, please, we've got your place in line essentially, but you need to go in and actually buy it now. Okay, and the credit card stuff is working, so you can go through and do this. Just go to the device order page, order the device, and then if we see you come in and you come in as number 10 or 20 or whatever it is, we'll put you back to number 1 if you were number 1. Okay? Once you get your device, when you unbox this thing, there's going to be some instructions on how to set it up to connect to the internet and to kind of finalize your account. Okay? And that's going to be under like this managed subscriptions thing. So I want to talk about how that works. We're going to essentially have 2 ways. You have your initial setup cost. By the way, we're still going to hold the price at $299 for the box and the trekking stick, and the accessory kit's going to be $149. Okay, and that's everything included, shipped to you to your front door. Okay, or to your office. After you have the box, we have 2 different methods of how you can pay for the subscription going forward. Okay, if you don't think you're going to do a lot of measurements, you can pay per measurement. Okay, that's the first budget plan. It's $25 a measure. And so that would be the first option. Again, you can do the math. Well, I don't need to do it for you. You can look through the plans. The other option would be a month-to-month payment. Okay, so $50 is the lower version of that. That gives you 50 measures a year. If you're going to measure anywhere near 50, you're going to find out real quick that's the better plan. Okay, so $25 a measure if you're only doing, say, a smaller number, or go to the month-to-month. Okay, all of these plans, we're going to keep your data for you. Everything that you measure, you'll have forever. Let's talk about oh, you know what I didn't mention? The very last part of the project. Let's finish up on the order process before we got it. Okay. Is there anything else on the order process? Again, expect a couple weeks. First come, first serve. This first round, if we run out of them, we have another round coming in like 4 weeks. So if for some reason we sell out of them, the first round that we have, there'll be more coming. Okay, and then at that point, we should be caught up with our production, and we should be able to get as many of these out as people need. just know that we're still in this ramping up process and getting things going. And I know everyone's excited to get them, but I would think that everybody on this live stream is going to have the ability to get a box here really, really quickly. Okay. So that's it about the order process. I don't think it's on here, but there's 1 or 2 updates we're going to release here, and it's about support. We just haven't had it out here because we haven't had to need it, but there'll be a list of things on here about support, emails. So if you have technical problems or if you have order problems, it'll be a bunch of different emails. You can just let us know, because there's a few different people involved in this, whether it's going to go to Tim or maybe Kimberly or our IT department or whatever. So that'll all be really easy to understand. I didn't talk about account information, but this is pretty easy. One of the things that's on here that's important is if you wanted to add more users to log into your account, you can do that from here as well. So if you have multiple team members that need access to this stuff, you can do that. What was that other thing I was going to talk about?
You said something about the end.
Oh, the end of the project. Okay. Yeah, I didn't finish that. I didn't talk about, okay, I'm done. Now what? So.
Oh, yeah.
We just kind of important. I just kind of skipped over that part. Okay. So I was getting excited about telling people about how to buy it. Okay. Manufacturers want photos, so you can manage photos here. So you just hit manage, upload a file. I believe you have to do this. So if I wanted to do it, I would have to take a photo. Okay. And then I would have to choose that photo. Oh, actually, mine does say camera. Let's see if this will just take. Oh, look at that. I could take Tim's picture. Hit OK. And then upload it. Know that when I hit upload here, it is putting it on a web server. Be patient, okay? Especially if you're doing large files, I would encourage you, if you know anything about your camera, come into your camera. If you're at like a large photo, change it down to the smaller one. Change your settings. They don't need to see some high quality photo. It's going to upload a lot faster if you take lower resolution photos. But then just hit upload. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess up our internet connection. It's already struggling enough. But just upload photos. And then the last thing would be to share it. Okay. So when you're done, you finalize this project. Okay. It's going to give you some warnings. Again, we're trying to make sure everyone's doing this correctly. Don't ignore the warnings, clear them off. But I'm going to, unfortunately right now, I'm going to ignore them. And then you can get to where you can download this. So here's the download options. I can view all the data. I can send this. Okay. And when you send it, you can email it to the manufacturers, however you're traditionally doing that right now. If you do that, make sure you attach the photos in the DXF file. The DXF file is just the CAD file that they're going to use. So make sure you attach that when you send that to a manufacturer. They're going to want that. Or you can download this and deal with it however you want to deal with it. Okay.
It puts it in DXF format, so it's already a document that the manufacturers are wanting. It's already ready to go, which they're very happy about.
Yeah, and that brings up the point of manufacturers. We are working with manufacturers, and you're going to see some changes, especially in that area as they continue to work more with us. But we're talking with manufacturers to find out how they want this, but also to work with them directly on offering their services, right? So part of our goal, we're not a manufacturer of liners or covers. We're trying to be a measuring company. We want to provide A/B software and a measuring device. And we're trying to build this with pool companies in mind, okay? And what my experience as a pool company owner and as someone who's in the past dealt with purchasing covers and liners, that can be a difficult process if you're ordering even 25 to 50 a year, managing all that. And if you're selling 25 to 50 liners and covers, you're probably measuring 50 to 75 because you're not selling everything. And so we're trying to build software that's going to help you manage that process. And I think part of that process is getting estimates and tracking sales and doing all that. And so we really envision that we're going to continue to build on this process of working with manufacturers, getting them the data. So one thing that we have is, and again, I won't talk too much about this because it's not done yet, but essentially, if you can envision the ability to send this to multiple manufacturers or your preferred manufacturer. If you're working with someone, you'll be able to just hit a button and send it right to them. You'll be able to pick your liner patterns. You'll be able to do all the things that they need you to do. That's going to come in that last section if you're working with a specific manufacturer. If you're already working with someone and they're not in our list, we would love to know who that is so we can reach out to them. Or you can reach out to them and find out why they're not working with us, and send them our way. Because we want to work with manufacturers just like you do, and give them, to make this process seamless, right? And so it's not data being sent over, with emails and things are getting messed up or whatever. Okay, we're trying to make this all manageable from one location. Okay. So anything else you want to add before we kind of maybe go to Kimberly and see if she's got questions people have said about it?
I know we didn't really go on too much, just that it's ergonomically correct and all that, but just maybe a point here of just the ease of use. If you're doing stairs and you've got to get a tape measure out and two tape measures pulled to every point, you have a wedding cake stairs and multiple levels. That's just very difficult on the body. With this, you just stick it down there, you're hitting a bucket, another bucket, you're moving it over a point. You're still standing like this. At the end of a project, you're not dead. You're able to, keep your back there. There's just a lot of ease of use, and I don't know if we went over that.
What do you think he's asking?
That much, but it's a tremendous benefit when you could just stand like this through an entire project almost, and just reduce that fatigue. Another couple things over a tape measure, just the differences is it does automatically restore it all. You don't have to speak it. You don't have to write it. You do a point, it records it. You go on to the next point, it records it. It's all ready at the end. So that you're not trying to balance that or hope you don't hit a typo or misspeak. It's recording automatically for you.
So I think this is what Kurt's question was, and Kurt, you can reach back out if we get this wrong, but you're talking about data rate for your servers, site under construction with no Wi-Fi or cell service. What is the minimum bandwidth? Okay, this device, essentially think of it as tied to a website. Okay, just like your phone when you're viewing this is all live. This is not, we're not taking the measurements with the device and then later uploading them. This is all done live while you're doing it. Okay, so we've had those questions about what if I'm in an area that doesn't have service? And I don't want to get into the weeds about connectivity. This is something we've been working really, really hard. If you saw us at the January shows, we talked about cellular versus Wi-Fi. We'll get into that and we'll kind of explain that more. It's going to be on the website when you go to purchase it. You'll see more about that. But essentially, yes, it has to have an internet connection. Okay, and so here, right now, we're all using this homeowner's internet connection to do all this. From my phone, I turn my data off on my phone because we need to all be connected to the same thing. The box is connected to, all this stuff's connected to the homeowner. Okay. Going forward, you just got to know that it's all has to have internet to do this. Every time I take a measurement, it's going to the web immediately. Okay, so it's not like we're storing it on the box and then we're going to go back to our office and upload all this. That's not the way it works. The box is communicating to the web. My phone's communicating to the web, all that. Very little data is required. So it's not like you have to have some streaming connection to be able to do this. We're talking about very small amounts of data. Until you made the photos, the highest data demand is taking the picture. And actually you could load pictures later. You could take a bunch of photos, go back to your office, and you could do the photos at your office if you were in a place that had kind of a low connectivity. But the box and everything else doesn't require any kind of data demand. Hopefully that answers that. All right. Anything else we want to talk about?
I don't think so. Those are most of the questions we went over most of the things that we've been getting questions about over and over.
One last thing I'll say is, again, I'll go back to the website. You'll notice that if I go to the homepage, we have our YouTube channel up. There's really not much on there right now. And then we have our X channel up. So I would encourage you to subscribe to both of those. If this is something you're interested in, that's how we're going to try to communicate to people, obviously through our website, but we're going to always make release, notes or anything that we're releasing on X. Any videos we shoot, we're going to put up on YouTube going forward. So even though you can get to all the training videos down here, we're going to also put those, they're all going to just be linked to YouTube. So I would encourage you to get on the YouTube even though there's nothing on there right now, to at least subscribe to it, because as we add stuff, you'll get those notifications. You'll know we're adding stuff. Same thing with X.
Yeah, I think those notifications will really help. When you could see that suddenly we did a software update, now something's even easier for you, and it's free. You know, it's just part of something we do to keep adding to it. You'll know that that's there and helpful for you.
All right, well, good. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
and
everyone. We'll have videos following up after this, some training videos. There'll be more specific videos coming. Again, you'll see the notification.